In the EU, there is concern about the continued lack of agreement with the UK on fishing quotas in jointly managed waters in the North Atlantic and the Deep Sea. It will not be easy, there are still major differences of opinion, said the Portuguese Minister for Maritime Affairs, Ricardo Serrao, on Monday before consultations with his EU colleagues. If Brussels and London do not come to an agreement in time, the fishery would have to stop. At the end of last year, the EU and ex-member Great Britain agreed in the negotiations on a trade agreement on further joint management of many British and some EU territorial waters. At that time, the shares for fishermen from EU countries and from Great Britain were set in the maximum permitted catch. The catch quotas for the individual stocks have yet to be negotiated. The current negotiations are difficult, however, because Great Britain is also considering unilateral solutions, said the German Federal Ministry of Culture in Berlin. Accordingly, the aim is to fish a total of 70 stocks, 28 of which are also managed by German fishermen. Because the trade agreement with Great Britain was only negotiated shortly before the end of the year, the EU countries had previously agreed on an interim solution for the first 3 months of 2021. Accordingly, the catches from 2020 were initially retained proportionally. It is now possible that no agreement will be reached with the UK in time for the March 31st deadline, said an EU representative. A solution must be found that ensures that the fishermen can continue working from April 1st, he said. Because without a quota system, they would have to stop their activity. It remained unclear whether this fishing ban would also apply to Great Britain or whether London would adhere to it. According to information from diplomatic circles, the EU Commission has proposed an extension of the previous transitional arrangement as a short-term solution. Proposed, not unilaterally put in. Last week, for the first time since Brexit, there was an agreement on common fishing quotas. The EU, Great Britain and Norway concluded their trilateral negotiations on the management of the North Sea. Since 1980, the EU had set the catches here in bilateral agreements with Norway. The UK's exit made this much more complicated. And some other Brexit consequence has been dealt with in Düsseldorf. The Social Democratic Party in the Düsseldorf State Parliament criticizes that the black and yellow state government has made too little effort to mitigate the consequence of Brexit for town twinning and the exchange of school children, trainees and students. The end of the Erasmus program was not compensated for by NRW's, that's North Rhine-Westphalia's, own initiatives, criticized Susana dos Santos Herman, spokeswoman for the SPD in the state parliament's Brexit Enquête Commission. That will have massive effects. Many young people and students will no longer be able to afford a stay in Great Britain if they have to finance it themselves in the future, said the politician from Cologne. The England exchange has a positive influence on the educational opportunities of children who come from uneducated families. Now, only well-off children could benefit from exchange experiences. The Study Commission on the Brexit effects on North Rhine-Westphalia has now presented its final report. Dos Santos Herman points out that the human dimension of Brexit has received far too little attention. As a former victorious power, England was the midwife of North Rhine-Westphalia, said the Social Democratic politician. 149 city partnerships have developed from the close relationships. The state government must support the municipalities in maintaining them further. Smaller cities lack the expertise to overcome new bureaucratic hurdles, she said. In the final recommendations, the Social Democrats suggests creating a fund for academic exchange. Berlin and Oxford have already agreed a successful strategic research cooperation since 2016, said Dos Santos Herman. North Rhine-Westphalia does not seem to care much about the cooperation between the universities, she said. This means that important opportunities for the research landscape are wasted. The state government had appointed the Christian Democrat politician Friedrich Merz as the Brexit Commissioner for North Rhine-Westphalia. Its exact activity was completely opaque until the end, criticized Dos Santos Herman. Merz sang his office at the beginning of 2020 and gave up without a sound. The high expectations that were connected with this person were not fulfilled, she said. And a little bit of Scotland, although I've got something more on that one tomorrow. 6 weeks before the general election in Scotland, the regional government has tabled a bill for a new independence referendum. Voters should answer the same question as in the 2014 referendum. Should Scotland be an independent country? The British government of Prime Minister Johnson strictly rejects a new referendum. The responsible Scottish cabinet member Mike Russell said on Monday that London had no democratic justification to prevent the vote if pro-independence parties win a majority in the May 6th election. The time for the questioning should be set in the coming legislative period, said Russell. The people of the British Party of the country should have the right to choose how we want to recover from the pandemic and which country we want to be after the crisis. According to the bill, people over 16 should be able to vote in the same way as foreign nationals who are eligible to vote in Scotland. In a referendum in 2014, a slim majority voted against independence. Prime Minister Nicola Sturgeon insists that Brexit, which Scotland rejected, changed the conditions. And she's right there, I must say. Most recently, supporters and opponents of detachment were balanced in surveys. In the state election, Sturgeon's Scottish National Party, the SNP, can count on a victory. However, it's not yet foreseeable to what extent an internal power struggle will reduce the chances of an absolute majority. A committee accuses Sturgeon of having misled Parliament. An independent legal opinion, which should be available soon, is decisive. It wasn't available when I made this video, but I just don't want to just throw it in now. I will have it in one of my videos tomorrow with a little bit more detail. So the decision is there, and it looks a bit better. Let's say it that way. But I will put it into my video tomorrow, and I will discuss it there. Because I also want to talk about Labour again. Because Labour is not, I said that they're not making the good stand about Brexit at the moment. And Sir Keir Starmer said Labour would not fight yesterday's war as he defended the party's pro-EU candidate in the Hartlepool by-election. Dr. Paul Williams, who was an opponent of Brexit and backed the second referendum, is standing in the constituency in which almost 70% voted to leave in the 2016 referendum. Keir Starmer said, "We have left the EU. Neither Paul nor I are suggesting a people's vote. We have left the EU. We have got a deal. We have got to make it work, and we don't want to rejoin." That's the position of the Labour Party. So for all rejoiners, that should give you one clear answer now. Labour will not be on your side, whatever you're doing with petitions and everything else at the moment. So that's another reason why I don't see rejoining in, well, not this decade. And I'm quite not sure about next decade either. So rejoin, you have to find another ally. It's not Labour. But Starmer continued and justified that. "We can't go on fighting yesterday's wars," he said. "The referendum was 5 years ago now. We don't want further division. We accept we've left, we've got a deal, let's make it work." The by-election will be a key test of Sir Keir's leadership as he seeks to defend a seat in Labour's heartlands after so much of it fell to Boris Johnson's Tories in the 2019 election, with Brexit as a major factor. The UK's exit from the European Union and the deal struck at the end of 2020 may have changed the political landscape, but the contest will be an indication of Keir Starmer's ability to connect with voters in the so-called red wall of traditionally Labour seats. Sir Keir said the contest would offer a choice between a frontline NHS doctor and a government that actually wants to cut, effectively, the pay of those who have been working on the front line in the pandemic. The Labour leader also defended Dr. Williams after he apologized for his past inappropriate tweets, including one about a favourite Tory MILF. Dr. Williams said on Friday that he wouldn't dream of making comments like this now, after the decade-old messages came to light. The former MP was selected as the constituency's candidate after Mike Hill resigned from the Commons amid sexual harassment allegations. There the MILF part comes in quite handy after such allegations. In one tweet sent in 2011, Dr. Williams said, "Do you have a favorite Tory MILF? Mind-blowing dinner table conversation." Sir Keir said, "The moment I was challenged on that, I said it's inappropriate. He shouldn't have done it. It's wrong. He has deleted it and apologized." It's inappropriate, and I'm not going to shirk from that. The Labour leader also faced criticism from Unite Union boss Len McCluskey, who warned Sir Keir will be dumped into the dustbin of history if he continues his attacks on the party's left. Mr. McCluskey accused the Labour leader of going back on the positions he took when he ran to replace Jeremy Corbyn last year. He told Times Radio that Sir Keir needed to shake off the siren voices of New Labour if the party was to stand any chance of regaining power. Sir Keir said, "We haven't spoken for some time. Len and I have got a pretty straightforward relationship. When we agree, we agree. When we disagree, we agree to disagree. We are two grown-ups. Len and I disagree on a number of things, and we know that we disagree on a number of other things." Sir Keir was challenged during his LBC phone-in by a Labour supporter who said, "You don't speak to me because I can't decipher what you actually stand for." The Labour leader said, "I want to change things for the better. I want to make sure that as we come out of this pandemic, we use it as an opportunity to say Britain can be better than this. We don't want to go back and patch up where we were when we started. We want to go onto something much better for the future." And there we are in one place where I have to agree with all the politics bashing that I hear all the time, even on my channel. I know it's easier for us in local politics, where we only do voluntary politics, to say what we think and to say what we mean. And that's one of the things I vowed to myself to do 30 years ago when I started. And I'm still only in voluntary politics because that's what I want. And all this talk around, it's the same on both sides. If Labour wants to stand any chance, they have to say what they want. We want to go into something much better for the future. What does that mean, for heaven's sake? How do you want to achieve that? You have to say how you want to do things, and not just, I want to bring us to a brighter future. When I ran again in the local elections in September, me and my colleagues, we had a clear list of things we want to do. Not what we want to achieve, some bright tomorrow. We had a clear list of steps we wanted to go, what we wanted to make come true. And they were really decisive and clear things that we put there. And the government has to do the same, and the opposition they have to say the same when they want to reach anything, and they are campaigning now. Latest for any campaign, even if it's only a by-election, you have to say what you want and not give answers like this all the time. You can exchange with any politician, whatever. And there I understand it. I'm against the generalizing politics bashing for obvious reasons. But in moments like this, and it doesn't matter if it's Labour or Tories, the Tories are doing that a lot as well, but Labour as well. You have to say what you want to do. And if you want to stay informed, please subscribe to my channel. Auf Wiedersehen.